Hi everyone, this is Adam Hops from the National Operations Center of Excellence. We're excited for our webinar today. We're going to start in about 5 minutes. So if you just hang tight for 5 minutes or so, we'll let all of our attendees jump on and then we'll get started. Thanks again for joining us, and again, we'll get started in about 5 minutes. Hi everyone, this is Adam Hops again from the National Operations Center of Excellence. About a minute or two before 1 p.m. Eastern, so we're going to get started in just a minute or two. Everybody should be seeing a slide of Traffic Incident Response Week up on their screen, and we'll get started here in just a few minutes. Thanks so much. Hi everyone, this is Adam Hoff at the National Operations Center of Excellence. We're going to go ahead and get started today with our webinar on Traffic Incident Response Week. Before we get started, I wanted to take care of a few house cleaning items. Everybody will be muted throughout the presentation, but we will be taking questions. So feel free to utilize that question tab on your GoToMeeting menu that's down there to ask questions throughout, and we'll do a Q&A session for our speakers at the end. So again, you will be muted, but feel free to ask questions there, and then we'll start a conversation in the discussion forum of NOCoE afterwards for any additional questions that you might think of, and we'll send that out to all attendees. Also, this webinar is being recorded, and the slides will be available through the National Operations Center of Excellence. We'll send that out as soon as the recording is completed and uploaded. So please remember you can share this with your colleagues. Before I turn it over to Chuck Yorks, I just wanted to thank Kim Vescones of FHWA and Chuck Yorks of Gannett Fleming for not only organizing this webinar today and the series of 10 webinars that we're doing here and that we're lucky enough to host, but also for organizing Traffic Incident Response Week. This is something that's important to all communities, the operations community included. So thank you to Kim and Chuck for that. And without further ado, I'll turn it over to Chuck Yorks of Gannett Fleming.
Thanks so much, Adam, and thank you to all on today's webinar, and by extension, all those who will be sharing this information in the future. We are recording and look forward to a spirited discussion. Kim Vescones intended to be here today, and she's not able to make it. So on behalf of her and Federal Highway Administration, I would like to offer my thanks to you for all that you've done in the past to advance the cause of traffic incident management and response, all the things that you're doing today and all the things that you'll do in the future. In 2017, our week will be celebrated, if that's the right word, November 13th to 19th, leading up to what the United Nations and the World Health Organization call the World Day of Remembrance for Road Traffic Victims. Another opportunity for us to pay homage to those who unfortunately have lost their lives in crashes, including our responder communities and all of their breadth of involvement. Let's set the scene just a little bit. Transportation challenges. Highway deaths are rising. Incidents are responsible for additional delay. We're doing damage to our environment. We tend to focus on the safety because of the way most of us are wired and the communities that we function in. But safety, mobility, and environment are all serious challenges that we all face and that we face on behalf of the publics that we serve. Specific challenges to traffic operations, work zone location and status, certainly one of them. Sensing in bad weather and just basic bad weather response. We do have a snow picture, but it's all kinds of severe weather that we encounter. Signal phase and timing issues, locations, clearance, and safety at traffic incidents. Again, it's what many of us are involved with most often. Status of normal bottlenecks, recurring congestion, and then the demands placed upon the system and the response community at special events. This year we're going to, and we've kind of labeled this as calling responders and drivers to action. We're trying to focus this year on a message that we are all in this together. We've done that as a response community well in some places and perhaps not so well other places. But drivers and their response to traffic incidents is in many cases as important as the response that we're given as responders. A toolkit is being prepared and will be ready in the very near future to offer you and those you work with some tools, models, some ideas about what can go on. But we're asking your engagement, talking within your communities and your constituencies about the issues that we face each and every day. Talk about quick clearance laws, talk about how to report a crash. Work with partners to share the materials that they've already provided so that we don't have to reinvent any wheels or rework things that have already been done. Some examples are shown here on the slides about sharing materials during traffic stops or when a service patrol or a tow driver has someone in the cab. Presentations at schools, public safety, using the public safety announcements that already exist. For those who are driven by data, statistics mean lots to lots of people, as do the great stories of the successes that we've had together. Let drivers understand they can be hero or heroes just by teaching good skills to their children. We want to try to do whatever we can within each of our communities, not just during Traffic Incident Response Week, but every day, how to avoid crashes and mitigating risks to the responders, the drivers, passengers, and other drivers who end up in that queue. Again, our goal, increase driver knowledge of quick clearance laws and how to keep motorists and responders safe on the roads. Responder to responder roles is kind of what we're talking about in these webinars so far, and what we're going to talk about today specifically with towing and recovery, with Safety Service Patrol, and with the Public Works community. Many of us have relationships with traffic reporters. Many could do a better job of establishing that. So we will be having webinars. There will be a webinar again in September and in October. And some kind of national event is in planning stages, but may not be specific. We have talked about the possibility of promoting a moment of silence on the 19th. There are going to be a variety of things that could happen that week and that weekend, and we'll be sharing more information on that in future webinars and through the TIM Network and National Operations Center of Excellence. Today, again, we're talking about perspectives, and we're going to start in the towing and recovery arena. Many folks around the country know the name of Mike Scott. Scotty's Carriage Works in Missouri. He has served the towing and recovery community for many years, and is in fact a member of the National Towing and Recovery Hall of Fame. He is a passionate advocate for his profession in and of itself and in working with other people. So I'm very pleased to turn it over to Mike Scott.
Good afternoon, everyone. Towing and recovery issues can become so important for us. The professionals, we have so many different things that we have to deal with, whether it be a light duty, medium duty, or heavy duty towing. Not only do we have to understand how to hook and recover a hybrid vehicle, but also we've got to deal with a gasoline tanker or a load of cattle, and so we're continually trying to train our personnel to be able to deal with all these different things and different types of equipment to handle it and be the expert at the scene. But we also have to deal with other responders there, and of course the public. So we all share that same goal of quick clearance and the safe operation for our guys and also the people that we're serving there, trying to protect them, trying to keep them out of the roadway when we arrive at the scene and they want to look at the car that's been damaged from the traffic side, and we're trying to get them back over here where they're in a safe area. So we're continually working through all these other obstacles, as we move along and as we're trying to promote it with the community, we've come up with things. The Towing and Recovery Association of America has come up with guides that we've used. We've come up with brochures. We've got into the tool kit that Federal Highways has. The Missouri Towing Association printed out some of the brochures that they have, and then we passed them out to our members, and then those members in turn went to like the local Rotary or to school, like when they have a career day where they're showing emergency equipment. We've passed them out there. If we can get it to the kids, a lot of times, just like with the seatbelt stuff, if the kids are well aware of it, they're helping mom and dad become aware of it. So we've tried to push that through there. Any place in the community that towers can move along, we're trying to get them to push that issue, and we discuss it at the state meetings, and of course at the national meetings and conventions. We've discussed the different things that towers can get out there to promote to the public. I know that in Kansas City they're getting ready to kick off where for the next year these electronic billboards that are actually used for advertising will be asking for them, general public, to move away from tow trucks on the side of the road. And the nice thing is that it can be on this side of the city at this moment and over on the other side of the city shortly thereafter. So we are reaching out, trying to get that information out to the public as we go along. Towers can be more involved as we go along by the captive audience, like they said just a little bit ago. When I work an accident scene and I've got that customer in the vehicle with me and they're going, oh my gosh, I never realized how bad it is out here. It's easy at that time to give some of those statistics, or to mention that we lose a tower about every 6 days out here on the highway because we can't get people to move over or move away from them, or that we're out there on the road at night and maybe it's just us changing that tire out there on the highway. We're also currently, it's called the Spirit Ride, and this is a casket that's crisscrossing the country, and as it moves along, we're creating news media and information as to what it's about and where it's going. I know it's going to be on the east side of Missouri, August 26th, and then it'll be over here on the west side, August 27th. They've got a deal going here in Kansas City, and we've actually tied the Kansas side state into it, and there's a procession that'll start from the Kansas side, and then it'll come along. It's being passed along by different law enforcement groups to the Missouri side, to a location where we lost a tower a couple years back, and for a ceremony there. But that's helping get the information out. Another thing that we're doing in trying to get the information out of this November is we're doing the towers, and MoDOT are doing a mock accident down in the Springfield area. And again, we're hoping that the news organizations will capitalize on that to help kick off Instant Responders Week following that 13th through the 19th. So that's some of the things that the towers are doing along with the other groups that we work together with to promote it and try to give a professional image of the towers and bring that skill set on up to where it belongs. Through those organizations and the planning, we've done that, and working together to achieve those responsible goals is how we come together with TOW. So I pass it back to Chuck there.
Thanks very much, Scotty, for everything you do. We have safety service patrols of all types and sizes around the country. Our second presenter is Jason Josie. He's the manager of Georgia DOT's famed Highway Emergency Response Operator, the HERO program that has been copied, never quite duplicated, but they've been really, really involved for a long time as leaders. So I'm pleased to present Jason.
Hey, everybody. Can everybody hear me okay? Any answer would be great.
Yep.
Awesome. Good. I just want to make sure. Okay, so like I said, I'm Jason Josie, HERO Manager, and what I want to do is I'm going to first give you guys a little bit of history about the HERO unit. If you are not really aware, the unit itself was first conceived in 1994 in anticipation for the Olympics in '96, and it was generally put together to do the very simple task of assisting some of the motorists that were going to be converging onto the city with directions, flat tire changes, gasoline, battery jumps, the normal general service patrol tasks. What ended up happening is based on the sheer volume of calls that they received and all of the law enforcement agencies that were certainly beneficiaries of the heroes out there on the highway, their operation expanded. And it expanded so much that the primary goal or primary focus kind of morphed from just the general safety service patrol tasks into minimizing congestion, accidents, and incidents on the interstate. So we discovered, saying, hey, we're the only ones out here patrolling. It's not to take anything away from the police, fire, EMS, state patrol, or whatnot, but their tasks were not built as such to have them constantly and continuously patrolling on the interstate. Ours did. And so we increased the amount of training that a hero received, and it just mushroomed from that. As a secondary service, then we started looking at, the giving directions, changing tires, and giving gasoline, and focus primarily on being a full-service incident response unit. And that's generally how we'd like to see ourselves as an incident response unit for highway emergencies. Most recently, we've been tasked by the state to be the sweepers in the reverse express lanes. So there are some other states, I believe Maryland, Florida, Hawaii, San Francisco, I think, have reversible express lanes. But for the first time in Georgia's history, we launched one in Clayton and Henry County, and HERO was the only agency that was going to have authority to be inside of that system 24/7 and to reverse the lanes and to maintenance the cabinets and whatnot, with, of course, support by those local counties. And so far, a 2-hour reversal time is now being done in 45 minutes, and the next challenge is going to be the Northwest corridor here in Georgia, Cobb County area, which is going to be double the one down south. The one down south is 13. One up north is going to be 32. And so it's going to require a myriad of operators and individuals to go in there and work it. But long story shorter, we've morphed from a general safety service patrol into a full service patrol unit that concentrates heavily on highway emergency and response. And doing that, some of the issues that we face are the same issues that everybody faces. There are environmental issues, rain, snow, hurricanes, flooding, and this includes standing water. One of the biggest problems we have here in Georgia is that the infrastructure is not growing or can't grow as fast as the population that's moving here. And so you can imagine that when there's a heavy rainstorm, we get a lot of standing water and flooding on some of the exit ramps. Everybody knows about the ice storm that we encountered a few years back. People like to make fun of us and say, it was 2 or 3 inches of snow. but it was actually ice. It was sheets of ice that covered the city. But things like that, hurricane evacuations, are things that we generally do on a regular basis. We also deal with suicides, homicides, and domestic violence. Believe it or not, these happen more frequently than a lot of people like to admit. Suicides, we have what we call a jump season, is usually around holidays in the heat of the summer, where we get an increase on individuals who either threaten to jump or actually jump. During these events, homicides and domestic violence events, depending on how severe the domestic violence stuff is, traffic control is necessary. And so, depending on the jurisdiction and the amount of lanes that are available there, they always call us to create a safe work environment with traffic control and to divert traffic for them. We have landscape and elevation issues to point particularly to the Northwest Corridor. The highest elevation is going to be 4.5 stories, and it's going to be the longest land bridge in the state of Georgia. So our operators are going to be working in the air 24/7. So that presents challenges to us that we have to face, one of which is that there is no escape route. And there's only 2 lanes of traffic, and so we have to come up with a safety measure to give those guys and ladies a means to get home at night. Hazmat, media debris, dead animals in the lanes. Most recent hazmat was a hydrochloride situation that happened in the downtown connector. Medical, traumatic emergencies, distracted irate motorists, that's what all of us deal with, drunk drivers. Our guys getting in accidents with motorists, you know, if you're out there 24/7, you can't avoid having accidents. And so it's a common issue with us. And being alone to deal with those issues. We don't ride in teams. The only time operators are teamed up is when they're in training and riding with a field training officer. Once they're released, they're solo. So operators are always on patrol by themselves, and each one of these issues that they face, they have to be equipped to face them and deal with them by themselves, have the presence of mind to call the necessary authorities to come and give them some assistance, if not another operator. Some of the community involvement over the years have been awesome. We've visited more than 200 schools. We do about 10 national night outs each year. Myself and Captain Nikki Renfro of the Georgia State Patrol, Troop Commander, Troop C here in the Metropolitan Atlanta, are co-chairs at the time task force, which is Traffic Incident Management Enhancement. We go around the state and try our best to put together great teams for people to kind of buy into the whole philosophy of quick clearance. All of our guys pass out the assist patrol card so motorists can have an opportunity to critique the service that we give them that is uploaded and maintained by State Farm. We do 511 tours or 511 tours. 501 is the telephone number that you can call here in Georgia. I think it's in many other states. And in those tours, people get the chance to see the Traffic Management Center, tour Hero truck, things of that nature. And we also give tours for agencies from other states and countries. We do that quite often. Seminars, webinars like we're doing now, and we, through the Time Task Force, have local agencies sign what we call the Open Roads Policy. Many of you may be familiar with that. And as many as we can get to sign the Open Roads Policy, the easier it makes for us to have a good relationship when we get on the scene. We do various church events and the Home Depot Children's Outreach. But I try my best to try to condense as much of what we do in a short amount of time. But there are a lot of other things that are on the table that I'm open for questioning. So if you guys have any questions at the end of this, please feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to give you all the answers I need to give you. Thank you.
Thanks, Jason. Would remind you, if you have any questions, we have one question. Can we get a copy of Mike Scott's presentation slides? And the answer is absolutely. And Adam Hops is going to again remind us here at the end how those slides will be available. And this webinar itself will be available in the future. But please feel free to enter a question, and we will present them to our speakers after our third speaker. Public Works is a discipline that is varied, that ranges from a municipal water line worker to a utility worker. The American Public Works Association has been a terrific partner in advancing the cause of traffic incident management. Harry Weed from Rockville Center, New York, out on Long Island, has been a board member and long involved, and I'm very pleased to present Harry today.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Chuck, for allowing me to participate in this. And for those of you after I'm done, it is Chuck's fault that you had to listen to. You know, Public Works is a first responder. As we all know, whether it's like Jason talked about, where they had the ice storm. Public Works, we do everything on a day-to-day basis. We touch everybody's life, and we're the ones who are out there with people every day, whether it's picking up garbage, turning on your faucet, flushing your toilet, fixing your roads, the potholes. We're there. But like police, fire, and towing, none of us are an island. We all need to work together. One of the things, just to give you a quick background on me, I 35 years in public works, over 40 years as a volunteer fireman. So when I pick on fire or with public works and vice versa, I can do that because I'm a third generation volunteer fireman. So I know both sides of the coin. One thing that I've always been I've always impressed with my teams that I've worked with is that we always had a working relationship with police. When you go to an accident scene, you know, police and fire, they all love public works. We do have some of the best toys. We've got some of the bigger toys. Towing, Mike has some big toys also, but you know, we get to play with ours every day, and it's important, the things that we do and what the services we provide. Barricades, blocking off roadways, diverting traffic, light towers, all of these things are vitally important. One of the things is with public works, it's not just highway safety, but it's local roads also. Whether we're cutting grass, painting lines, painting a curb, a stop bar, erecting a street sign, or picking up garbage. All of these items that we do every day are very much important to traffic incidents. And there are many things that we need to do that we need to be prepared for and to watch out. If I can get Adam to go to the next slide. You know, there's some simple guidelines. One is please, you know, the protective clothing. There are guidelines, ANSI guidelines for your clothing, and this goes not only police, fire, towing, public works. You know, wear all of your protective clothing. Be seen. And the other part of this is, and I would tell my people all the time and impress it on this, whether it's at the fire department or public works, is be alert and aware of what's happening around you. You never know when somebody could go by a barricade or a cone or go around one of these and have an accident. Just this past week on Long Island, we had we had one fatality and one person is in the hospital in critical condition that got hurt on construction sites on the roadway, wasn't a highway, and it primarily because not being aware of what's happening around you. So please be aware with what's happening and who you're working with. Watch out, look out for the policeman or the fireman, or as well as the tow operator. Whatever we can do, we need to be able to assist. One of the big problems that I've always seen that has been something that just irritates me. This doesn't pertain just to accidents and it's storms. How many times, whether a hurricane, snowstorm, nor'easter up here in the Northeast, we're trying to clear the roads. We're trying to open up roads so that police and fire, in the event that have to get down a roadway to service a resident, we're trying to clear the roads, and people, right after a storm, want to come out and see what damage the storm did. And it makes it very, it's dangerous for everyone involved. It's dangerous because we still don't know if there's going to be a telephone pole or a tree that'll still come down on a car or one of our workers. So again, it's that being aware of everything on every day of what is going on around you and what you do. Public Works, being a first responder, we could be cutting grass and filling potholes in the morning, and in the afternoon have, whether it's a road collapse, a bridge collapse, a storm roll through, that we have to respond, and we're there from the start to the very end of it, cleaning up. And a lot of times, I always impress the point of, with police, fire, towing, when they're on the scene, let's all of us get out of there and get out of there safe. If there's anything we can do, a lot of times in the Northeast, in an accident scene where a tow truck comes up, if there's glass, if there's parts of, pitch in, look, let's get this cleaned up, let's make it as easy as possible for everybody. If we all work together, the one thing with all of this, we need to remember to work smarter and not harder. And just because the car is there and it was involved in the accident, that's not our problem. It's the tow truck. No, it is our problem. We're all involved. Again, none of us are an island. So between police, fire, towing, public works, we all need to work together to clear the road, move the lanes, open the roads back up, and to be safe. I'm ashamed to say it drives me crazy because just on Long Island, our state police, one of the things they do, and along with fire, is if we have an incident on one of our parkways, they all but shut it down for something minor instead of moving things off, and we'll have traffic backed up for miles. Makes me crazy, especially being a member on the TIM committee and involved in public works, as well as being a volunteer fireman. So it's a tough item. But again, we need to follow some simple guidelines. We need to, make sure everybody wears their protective clothing, to be alert, and to be able to work with police, work with fire. One of the things that we did for a long time, now more police departments are getting away from it. We had a capability of being on the police radio frequency to receive only, so that we knew when there was a incident or a problem that was going on, that we could have somebody in public works respond, whether it was an arrow board, more cones, barricades. And then what we did is we then talked to the police department and said, look, we We understand how you want to be able to be a protected frequency, but what we want to do for you is when you have a problem, please call us and let us be able to come and help. Let us be a part. And that seems to work out very well. So if we all work together, we all do this as a team and not just thinking that each one of us are our own little island and we're our own niche, that's when accidents and we have people that get hurt and killed. And as Mike said earlier, one of the things in Public Works that we're discussing right now on the American Public Works Board is the fact that police, fire, towing, all keep track of people they lose or get hurt on road-related incidents. And Public Works, we just took that as, this is our job and this is what happens. Well, we're turning that around now, and we're looking to do something for Public Works to keep track of this and to honor some of our fallen heroes that Public Works industry that have lost their lives due to some of these very incidents. So, I look forward to being able to help eliminate the need to have these people go in and being honored. I would be very happy if we didn't have to honor any of them, which means we didn't lose anybody and the need to honor them. Chuck, I'll turn this back over to you.
Thanks very much, Harry, kind of bringing everything together for us. We appreciate it. Folks, you still have some time to ask a few questions. I'll go over some of the things about the toolkit while you have that opportunity. But before I miss that opportunity, I want to thank Mike Scott. I want to thank Jason Josie. And I want to thank Harry Weed for taking their time today to talk with their communities and about their communities. Again, very soon you're going to be seeing some more toolkit ideas. And I invite you now, if there is anything that you have that you think works, brochures, any public safety announcements, public service announcements of any kind, any articles that have been useful to you. We're going to try to give you some examples. Any way that you have found, any successes that you can share about peer-to-peer things. I mean, Harry was pretty eloquent about everybody working together, as were the other speakers, but how are the ways that responder-to-responder communication has improved things? Again, you'll be seeing some fact sheets, photos that have been cleared through FHWA Public Affairs. Whatever tools we can put into this toolkit, we intend to do, and certainly ask if you have things to work through the TIM network. Once we get the toolkit up, we will be, those of you who follow the TIM network on Facebook or Twitter, we'll be trying to interact as much as possible in those venues, and National Operations Center of Excellence, which again, we appreciate hosting this webinar series. We'll be doing the same. Until we have a few more questions, I'll talk about let's get involved, and then I have a couple of questions for our panelists if you don't. We're asking for your energy. We're asking if there are any national activities that if you can coordinate with them, you consider being a part of that. More importantly, plan whatever works in your state and your community. It doesn't have to be for all of the state DOT. It could be for your hometown. It can be with the groups that you work with and run with. We would ask that if you are at a TIM team meeting, I got notices of Wisconsin meetings and Maine and New Hampshire meetings recently. If you're in those meetings, encourage folks to exchange ideas about how we tell the story and how we involve the driver as we move forward. We appreciate you sharing whatever it is that you know, and lessons learned, and taking the time to do those things as we come out of there. I have a question for all three of the panelists, and I'd ask, just go back in the same order. Mike Scott, what can we do? How can we be more effective in making sure that every responder at an incident is wearing their high visibility vest and protective equipment? How do you do that with the towing community?
With the towing community, I think that I'm hoping eventually across the nation they'll put in some type of requirement where that we would have to be level 1. There's level 1, 2, and 3 training with the National Association. If we can teach that at the beginning of a tower's starting career, that'll carry throughout. He'll begin to understand incident management, and I think that would be the fastest way and the long-term way of getting that information to the towers. That you know, if I want to be a mechanic, I've got to go to school. If I'm going to get out there on the highway, I need to have some training for what I'm doing. And if we required that level, that entry level, that same theory and stuff will carry right on up into the large recoveries that they're going to get involved with later on in life.
Thanks, Scotty. Jason, Josie, I'm just going to make a blanket statement here and say that no hero operator gets out of that vehicle without having the vest on. So how is it that you can be an example to others on that scene and encourage them if you see someone without a vest? How do you handle that in the time program?
The way we do it is, and you're right, the vest is a part of our uniform. The only time operators are allowed to take their vest off is when they're at headquarters or going home. Once you get in the truck, vest is on. Most operators, if not all operators, but I know I can say most, carry extra vests. What we do is we recycle our old vests rather than throw them out. So we'll take the old ones that get really good and soiled that operators don't use anymore because of the visibility loss, and we just wash them up real good, and we put them in bundles, and we put them in the back of trucks. And I think you might know where I'm going with this. When we get to scenes and we have motorists that have business on the scene, or maybe a commercial truck driver of some sort that has to be out on the scene, then we give them a vest. If we encounter law enforcement, towing agencies, or anybody that has business in the incident area, we walk up to them and we respectfully request them to put on a safety vest. We've been fortunate in the metro area with the Time Task Force and a lot of the people that have signed the Open Roads policy that it is not a foreign question to ask people. It's not an off-putting question to ask. We run into more of a problem when we get in the outlying counties that we don't encounter that often. But for the most part, it's a simple, hey, put your vest on. If that gets a little hairy, then we say, you can't be inside of the scene without a vest. And generally what ends up happening, that individual or individuals will look around and see everybody in the scene with the vest on. And if they don't have one, we respectfully offer them one. Even if they're too far from their vehicles, hey, I got one, you can put it on. It's not good enough for us to work for 10 hours in, but it's certainly good enough for you to spend the next 45, 30 minutes in the scene. So we just try to carry extra vests and, be respectful when we walk up to individuals and encourage them to put theirs on. If they don't have one, then we'll give them one. But we educate the whole time about how important it is to be visible.
Thanks, Jason. Harry, how can we do it? I know that normally Public Works is wearing as well. Anything you can add on how we can encourage folks to, and you were talking about protective clothing in addition to high visibility vests, but is there anything else you can offer?
Well, one thing that, and I'm probably the rebel, and I've been probably chastised a few times by some mayors over my career, because to me, when you have to fight for them to pay for safety clothing and hard hats, things of that nature, it was very frustrating. It would make me crazy. But one thing I did do is, as soon as I could, is I got all my sanitation guys. They all have pants with the reflective striping down the pants, as well as the ANSI shirts and jackets. Yes, some of the jackets that all the public works people wore may have cost a little bit more than what they could have bought, but you have to sit there and make them understand. Do we want to pay a higher cost on our workers' comp insurance if you get somebody hurt? Do you want to explain to the family why that person is either hurt or killed because of a budget cutback on purchasing this equipment? You know, it's a very cheap insurance policy to get those to get that safety items, and then to have the personnel wear it. This is part of your job. This is, if you get hit or you have an accident because you're not wearing this safety items, you're no good to me. So go home now and see how that is. If you're not here and you're not going to get paid, you know, we're looking to make sure that everybody comes in and each day and goes home each day back to their families safe and sound. And you know, sometimes the public officials that the bean counters that you have to fight, they have to be kind of directed in that way. And again, you know, I recently retired. I did 35 years with Public Works. I also worked in the private sector in construction before that. So, you know, I understand. I always went at things in a business sense. And a lot of times, government and Public Works, I was, they weren't particularly happy with that. But then again, I tried to take care of all my people, because then I know when I needed them to take care of me, they were there for me. So, you know, you have to work and get the public bean counters and the officials that govern, that hold those purse strings, to know that these items and they're tools, and they're the tools that are going to get everybody home safe and to save them money in the long run.
Thanks, Harry. No more questions have come in, except one on how you can get linked up with the TIM network. So we will try to provide that for you. On Facebook, it is listed as National Traffic Incident Management Network. National Traffic Incident Management Network. And if you're a Twitter follower, it's at _TIM, capital TIM _network, at the TIM network. If there are no other questions, again, I offer my thanks. I like to call these webinars our community of opportunity. And I encourage you to remain engaged, to engage and share as much information as you possibly can, and to continue to work together one day at a time, because every day counts, to advance this cause. There are too many close calls, too many crashes, too many injuries, too many deaths. and working together, we can hope to have Harry and APWA have to make a very, very small wall. I did have another question come in. Does anyone have a magic bullet, a magic funding source, a bottomless pit of money, or a better idea on how we fund the things that we need, clothing that we need? The question specifically is there a way to fund, other than self-funding, clothing, cones, etc. Is there a means of funding these items? Does anybody have a great idea?
This is Jason. The best thing I can point to that was a really good source for us for a few years back, it's a sponsorship. I think everybody is familiar with, the State Farm sponsorship of a lot of the different programs across the country. But I think that served as a pretty good template for agencies that may not have sponsorship to look into that. It certainly came in handy when you were looking for funds for training, for tools and equipment, and for uniforms. It's not a bottomless pit. I think it probably has a lot to do with the size, scope, and the visibility of a particular agency or department, but it is certainly something that is worth considering. Also, another thing that we did to kind of appeal to our own state government as well as federal government is basically just showing your worth. It took a while, sure, but after you showed the sheer results of what it is that you're doing in terms of saving time and money, that in itself goes a long way with being able to request a little bit more funding. But I can honestly tell you there is no magic bullet. It's going to always be something that's going to require a little bit of blood and skin.
Thanks, Jason. This is Chuck again. We are part of an effort in southwestern Pennsylvania with the Southwest Pennsylvania Commission, and we have specifically directed a quarterly newsletter that we call Responders with a $sign at the end. And it concentrates on finding grant funding or community foundation funding or sponsorship opportunities to fund these things. And we concentrated in that effort on locating the community foundations and corporate foundations that specifically concentrate on that specific part of the Pittsburgh area and southwestern Pennsylvania area. And we've had some success in tying those opportunities to some of the folks who are willing to do it. And we gear this to fire departments, police departments, municipalities, EMS agencies specifically.
Chuck?
Yes.
One thing that a source that could be looked into is if you contact your compensation carrier. A lot of these insurance companies, they have, there's some funds that they have, and they put out different things instead of giving you a stress ball. If they put it towards ANSI vests, things of that nature, and that they're not going to have to pay out. I do think that in some cases, some of these insurance companies would gladly kick some money into some of the protective clothing.
Great idea. Anything they can do to reduce risk makes some sense. If there's nothing else right now, again, I thank you all and want to turn it back over to Adam to close us out today. We appreciate your time today and what you do in the future, and we urge you all to be safe.
Thanks, Chuck, and thank you to Mike Scott, Jason Josie, and Harry Weed for that fantastic presentation. Again, we'll be reaching out via email in the next couple of days with the recording of this and a link to the presentation so that you can share with your colleagues and wider distribution as well. We want to get the word out as much as possible. You'll also hear from us about future webinars in the next couple of months that Chuck alluded to. For anybody who's interested, we'll send those out to this group as well so that you can continue to remain involved leading up to November and beyond. Thank you so much again, and we'll talk to everybody soon.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.